Hello and welcome to the second of my two sharpening tutorials. Now this tutorial is basically a duplicate or a replication of a tutorial I've given in several other places. If you're looking at this on the website, for example, you will find it in the workflow tutorial and in the actions tutorial and a couple of other places, which just shows you how much I use this technique. It basically involves creating a special sharpening layer and then selectively applying it to the image that you want to use it on. So to get started, you need to make a copy of the image that you're using, and I'm going to do this the time-honored way by holding down my Command or Control key and hitting J. So there's my copy. And the next stage is to remove the color information. So go to Adjustments, down to where it says Desaturate, and just turn it into a grayscale black and white image. Now we need to get it to react to the layer underneath, because this is the basis of how it works, really. So I'm going to change the normal blending mode here in the layers palette from normal to hard light, okay, which produces this sort of ultra contrast image. Rather nice effect if you want it in certain situations. Not what we want, however. There's a final stage here. We want to go to the filter menu and then use this filter that's not much known about, called high pass, hiding down here in the other part of the section. And once we click on that, you can start to see how it works. Basically, by adjusting the slider here, you get more or less of a sharpening effect here. And generally it depends on how selectively you want to use it. So if you're only going to use it on parts of the image, you can afford to make it quite strong. Also, that also depends on the resolution of your image. So I'm going to use quite a strong one here, about 9.1. Let's leave it at that. Now that on its own, just turn it on and off, it's probably too much. You can see that. But I always think it's better to do something a little too strong and then to tone it down. That way you can sort of, it's easier to tone something down than to turn it up once you've done it. We put it that way. And the way we're going to turn this down or to turn it up, whichever way you want to think about it, is by basically using layer mask. I'm just going to move this over here so I can show you a bit more clearly. And I'm going to add a layer mask to this layer, and I'm going to add a black layer mask. That means basically I'm going to hide everything on the layer and then put it back the sharpening where I want it to be. So if I click down here normally, I will get a white layer mask and revealing everything. I don't want that. I want to hide everything. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key, Option on the Mac, and just click there, and I get a black layer mask. You can see that now everything's gone completely. Right, so I'm now ready to paint into that layer the detail that I want to bring back in the areas that I want to bring it back. One of the obvious areas I would normally do this in is the eyes. So using a paintbrush here, there's a nice soft paintbrush up there, at about, let's say, 58%, that's fine, maybe slightly more. All I need to do here is making sure I've got the mask selected. This is important. This mask area is selected. You can tell that because it's got a white area, line around it. I can start to gently paint back some of the detail around the mouth, around the eyes, maybe a few strands of hair here, edge of a bangle, and so on. Just sort of punch up a few little areas. Now the beauty of this, of course, is that if I overdo it or I decide I've gone too far, I can, of course, just come back with some black paint and just paint it out again. So that's perfectly easy to do. And the other great thing about it is that I can turn down the opacity on it. So I can, for example, I want to lessen it slightly, just reduce the opacity here. So you get an enormous amount of control here. Very, very useful technique. When you're happy with it, when you're finished with it, you would simply select both layers by shift-clicking on them, press Control-E, and bring them together with Command-E on a Mac. And there you are.